when you see a problem or you experience a frustration in the world, it really, it makes you want to innovate. It makes you want to solve that problem. So, like in the case of my Orb 3D printer, I had a 3D printer, and I was really frustrated with the speed and also the difficulty to modify the printer. So, creating a new 3D printer that would solve those problems was really the answer to that.
So would you say that it's much the same way if we look at, I guess, the general history of where innovation comes from, in terms of humanity, this idea of a need, or we see a problem and we need to solve it. Would you say, is that at the essence of what intrigues you, what interests you?
Yeah, I think it's solving problems, solving challenges.
What about you, Fatima? I mean, you made a solar backpack, amongst other things, the robot we saw in the video. What inspires you?
What inspires me, it's seeing the youth in the UAE and how they work very hard to achieve and make things happen here in the UAE. And I believe we're the generation of today and tomorrow. So why wait for tomorrow? Start from today and work to make our future better.
You've hit on a point there which I think is crucial, which is that I think any of us at some point in our lives, whether we're youth, whether we're adults or older, we have ideas. But taking those ideas and then making them real, making them tangible, seems to be where a lot of people hit a wall. So what do you think it is? What qualities, what have you seen, what elements in your environment have allowed you to push through from the idea, from the frustration, to actually creating, inventing something at your age? Thomas?
Yeah, I think definitely the support of friends and family and also a school is very important, and also the support of the internet. So there are so many internet resources out there. The open source movement has just introduced so many resources for young entrepreneurs and innovators to start, to figure out how to do different things in science and technology. You can download people's code. You can download other people's, works in science and technology and build on top of them. So,
would you say the same thing, Fatima, that it comes down to, obviously there are lots of things, there's programs at the very high governmental level, but would you say the core is family, is the people closest to you? Is that your experience?
Yeah, we want people to support us when we're there on stage and we're sitting at home and working. Because usually people support you when you're very successful, you're on TV, you're in newspapers. We want people to support us from the beginning of our journey. So if I didn't get the support from my family or my friends or from my school or the community around me, I wouldn't start to invent and do things like that. So it starts with support from the family and the people around the innovator.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Fatima, I think when you did start, you didn't necessarily have such widespread support. So how did that change?
At the beginning of, I would say, my really short journey in innovation and the things I do, I didn't get support from my classmates, my friends, my really close friends, and my school. But my family was very supportive, and I think my family helped me go through this because they moved me to another school, and my school now is very supportive. Because, see, at a young age, you start working, you're exploring, learning new things. So when you don't see the support and you see people teasing you for the things you do, or like bullying you in school, because people used to bully me because I didn't play with Barbies, I used to play with the screwdrivers and things like that. It's weird because, thank you. People still make fun of that fact because now girls carry makeup in their bags. I carry screwdrivers and screws till now. I just make sure if anything's wrong anywhere I go to. So it's just the fact that you need the support to do that, even after a while of starting.
But that changed when you started getting newspaper articles and TV coverage, right?
Exactly. My teachers are now very proud. The teachers back from second grade and third grade. I remember meeting one of them. She's like, "I watched you on TV. You're famous now." Like, yeah, I remember when you told me I couldn't make it on that stage, because I remember I wanted to present to become a TED speaker a few years back, and one of my teachers told me I couldn't get there, and I won't do it until I'm above 30. And I did it when I was 13. So I was happy to actually include her name in the speech and tell her, oh, hi, miss, I made it on the stage. So I'm glad that happened.
And Thomas, I mean, to a certain degree, I think you had maybe a similar experience, right? You had your first TEDx talk at 12 for a very funny app, Bustin' Jeeber, which is basically like whack-a-mole hitting Justin Bieber. Is that essentially it?
Yeah, that's people seem to like hitting Justin Bieber, so I think that's why that went viral. But yeah.
But what changed for you? So again, 12 years old on a stage, and I've seen the video. You really command the stage, which is really impressive. What difference did you see before and after that video, that moment, and how did that change things?
Well, I think, yeah, definitely before the TEDx talk, I was working on my software projects. I had started the app club that I mentioned in the TEDx talk, and I was just doing normal software development and learning. After the TEDx talk, so many opportunities opened up. So I got so many requests for interviews and flying everywhere. And most of the stuff I turned down just because I wanted to continue doing software development. If I'm flying everywhere talking about software development, I'm not actually doing it. But it was, I think, the TEDx talk and getting the publicity really did help with more opportunities. But the core, the essence of what I do has not changed.
So I also want to take opportunity. You two have spoken together before. You've had, I think this is a really nice, unique opportunity to have people from two very different parts of the world to collaborate. And I think collaboration is quite central to being successful in invention in your field. What are some of the things maybe that you've discussed? What do you see as some of the benefits of having that kind of different perspective? Fatima.
You get to meet people from all around the world, You get to know about the latest technologies, about smart people who are there, maybe not very famous, but you get to know them and know how smart they are. So it's more about, sharing knowledge and learning from other people. And having summits like this to actually get youth together and many other summits outside is a very great chance to meet people like Thomas and other people smart like him.
And Thomas, I think you have a very direct example of collaboration and giving back in some ways when you're interested. Didn't you start a programming club at your school again with the age of 11, something like that?
Yeah. So when I joined the sixth grade at my middle school, a lot of students were asking me how to code. They say, how can I code too? I want to write apps. And of course, this isn't a 5-minute explanation. You really need a lot of time to master, or to learn and master programming. So I started an app club at my middle school to teach other kids how to program.
And what did you get out of that? Is it something where you're just giving back? Did you find that had a benefit to you as well?
Oh, it definitely had a benefit to me, and it still does, because I'm still operating the continuation of that idea, and it's definitely mutually beneficial to teach someone, because they teach you also. Even though you might not think, oh, well, I'm teaching this person a certain subject, they oftentimes will have other ways of doing it that I have not thought of before. So I'll teach them this one concept in programming, and they say, well, why can't you do it this other way? I'll be like, oh, yeah, that actually makes sense. I should try that. Let's go ahead, try it. So it's mutually beneficial.
Now, I think there's this idea that sometimes, perhaps incorrectly, that technology and innovation sort of go hand in hand. I would be interested to get your perspective, because both of you obviously work using technology. Would you say that technology is fundamental to your ability to invent or innovate, or do you see it more as a tool, perhaps?
To me, it's a tool. Maybe for me and Thomas, we really need it because we innovate in the technology field. But that does not mean that if we don't have technology, people will still not innovate and get into this field.
So what do you think is the fundamental thing, then? Why innovate?
Find a bigger cause to innovate. Don't just innovate for yourself. Innovate for your country, innovate for a problem you saw or something like that. So innovate for a bigger goal than just yourself.
Oftentimes there's this concept that millennials are entitled, they've been maybe coddled a lot because they've grown up in greater security than perhaps other generations, that they are maybe quote unquote lazy. Fatima, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, You said lazy. We may be lazy, but to prove it to you, go outside and see the youth who made the summit happen, who volunteered here, who are working in the workshops now. This is the biggest proof to show that youth can actually do something.
So, just to bring things home a little bit, you've already talked about environment, but in terms of maybe at a higher level, in terms of governments, leaders, what do you think they can do, as young inventors, from your perspective, to really encourage others to follow in your footsteps? Thomas, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, the government is, as I've seen here in the UAE, it's very, the initiative for getting young people into innovation and technology, even with the Ministry of Youth, that's super important because it's providing a foundation, providing inspiration, and also motivation for young people to start getting into technology and innovation. If there's no, like, I guess, big entity that is saying, this is cool, you should go do it, then people might say, oh, that it might be more of an not very popular and not very common, and not such a cool thing to do. But having a government entity saying, you should go do this, every one of you should go do this, and look how fun it is, then it starts to change the mind.
And Fatima, you mentioned in your video you want to be a future youth minister, so I'm assuming you're inspired a lot by government programs and government support.
I think the Ministry of Youth really, we're talking about a year back, the last World Governmental Summit, when they announced about the ministry, I really set a goal. I was like, I want to be the minister. Maybe not after Sham al-Mazrou'i, but maybe after. But I really look up to her, and I really like the way they're working in the ministry, because they didn't just, they didn't make it very formal. You don't just sit there in your office and work. They turned the youth hobbies and interests into something they could serve the country with. So we could see many filmmakers and photographers, inventors, and many other people who are interested in fields just as a hobby, and now they're serving it and doing it for their country. So that was a smart idea, to move a hobby or something like that to a service that they could actually enjoy what they're doing. So I hope they could move this experience to other countries, inshallah.
So to bring this all back home, for other young or maybe otherwise budding inventors out there, people who want to make an impact, to sort of follow in your footsteps, what is the single biggest piece of advice you can give them? Thomas.
I would say, don't ever let someone tell you you can't accomplish something. There's this cliche of never give up, but it is very true. There have been times where I've been working on projects, and it seems that very few people actually believe that you can do a certain thing. They say, oh, that technology, that you can't do that because either your age or even the technology, it's not even possible. And you have to think, if you really believe in something so passionately, you're going to get it done. You'll get it done. You may not get it done in the next 2 months, or 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years. But if you have that drive and you have that passion, you know that eventually you'll get it done.
Fatima, what are your thoughts?
I want to give this advice to everyone. Don't wait for anyone to push you around. Don't wait for your mom to come and tell you, oh, go find a job, go study, go do something like that. Try to find everything yourselves, because if you'll wait for someone to push you around, you won't get anywhere. So it's all about you putting effort into looking for programs, looking for places to volunteer at, learn from experiences around you, and don't waste your time on things that won't help your future.